With a look at this week's UPS Team Performance Index, I'm Tom Vandervoort. Now, the TPI gives us a new way to rate and compare college football teams using statistical analysis. First, a separate index is developed for offense, defense, special teams, and miscues. Add those together with winning percentage, and you get an overall index for total team performance. 100 is average, 200 is perfect. Now, for the second week in a row, Alabama leads the TPI just as they do the national polls. Their index of 137.0 is 0.7 of a point better than second-place Florida State. Interestingly enough, Alabama's numbers are very similar to what we saw at the end of last season when they won the national title and led the season-ending TPI with a final index of 130.8. Last year's Alabama offense finished with a rating of 114.9, this year's 108.8. Last year's defense finished at 139.5, this year's 139.0. Alabama's special teams finished at 114.9 last year, with this year's version indexing at 116.4. The biggest discrepancy between last year's tide and this year's is in the miscues index. The 2012 edition is second best in the nation at 133.4 compared to a final index of 111.7 after 2011. Now, one of the marquee games this week featured Baylor at West Virginia, and that high-scoring affair had a major effect on the TPI. Despite scoring 70 points, West Virginia had the lowest index of any winning team on Saturday, coming in at 71.4, below average. And the discrepancy between the Mountaineers' offense and their defense was astounding. They rated 157.2 on offense, best in the nation for the week, but only 59.4 on defense. Their special teams play also rather putrid, coming in at 53.4, and that performance dropped them from 11th to 30th in the overall TPI. The only other undefeated team ranked lower is Oregon State at 45th. Texas was another team that won but saw their TPI ranking fall. They went from 5th to 15th after beating Oklahoma State 41-36. Despite the points, their offense rated a below-average 94.3 for the game, and their defense was one of the worst in the nation this past weekend, indexing at 41.1. In fact, Oklahoma State indexed better in every category for the game except miscues. Worst of all for the Longhorns, they now rank behind Texas A&M on the TPI. The Aggies rose from 25th to 10th. Texas, though, is still undefeated. I'll be back next week with more numbers for the UPS Team Performance Index. I'm Tom Vandervoort.